Howdy everybody, and welcome back to World of Warships with Bogatir, where today on Shatter we're going to be saying goodbye to the Iowa, because this here is my very last game in her. Yes, I have finally finished grinding out the Montana, and I am now the proud owner of one as of 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on my video making, but this is my last game, and it actually wound up being a pretty fun game, which was a very nice way to send off a ship that I learned to love, because when I first got the Iowa, not a huge fan. You see, the stock Iowa, well, every stock ship sucks, some more than others, and the Iowa is a case that the stock one really, really blows. I tend to be more of an aggressive battleship captain. I really like to get up in people's faces, and the stock Iowa has one of the slowest rudder shifts in the game that I've ever seen. I'm sure there's a slower one. I've heard the Azuma is particularly bad, but the Iowa stock is, well, it's like trying to maneuver an iceberg. It just does not want to turn. I mean, even once you've got it fully upgraded, it still doesn't really want to turn, but you can at least get something serviceable. But I also had a little something else against the Iowa, because when I first started playing with the Iowa, it used to have its raised citadel. And I know there are some people who say that the Iowa getting her citadel lowered, the Iowa and the Montana getting their citadels lowered, made them, well, more noob-friendly ships. And I suppose I can see where they're coming from with that, but here's what I would say. The most boring, brain-dead gameplay in World of Warships is battleships bow tanking each other at 15 plus kilometers. And when you have a raised citadel like the Iowa did, that was pretty much your only option. As soon as you were spotted, you had to point your bow at the majority of the enemy team, or you were going to get citadeled and just utterly deleted from the game. And that was a major problem with her, because I like to try to maneuver, like to try to get up in people's faces, and you can't do that if the only way you can take fire is to bow tank. And so when I first got this ship with that slow rudder shift with a raised citadel, oh, I hated it. I honestly think my win rate when I first started playing was probably something along the lines of 25%, and it was never because of me. If I had a 25% win rate, it was only because my own team drugged me kicking and screaming to it. So, yeah, not a lot of fun. But once the citadel got lowered and I actually ground out, well, okay, I didn't grind out the hull upgrades. I finally just got so sick of putting up with the stock rudder shift that I just flat out used a ton of my free experience to just go ahead and get it out of the way. Because, you know, the engine upgrade is nice because you get the full speed of the Iowa, and the gun range upgrade is kind of pointless. Really, trying to engage targets at 20 plus kilometers is really just rolling dice, and not a whole lot of point to it. So once you get the hull upgrades, the Iowa's pretty much good to go. I mean, you'll want to get the rest of the upgrades eventually, but well, you don't really have to have them. The ship's perfectly fine as is. Yep. Yeah, my mouse is very sensitive and my trigger finger is pretty heavy, so that's going to happen once in a while. But getting back to the Iowa, once I got all those upgrades, I really started to like the ship. In fact, I started to like her almost as much as I like the North Carolina, and I love the North Carolina. But it took a little bit of getting used to. It took a little bit of upgrading. It took a little bit of learning how to play it. And it took an honestly pretty major buff from Wargaming to make me really like the Iowa. And now you can actually show a little broadside whenever you need to maneuver, and you're not going to get deleted. But, oh, you can't possibly citadel the Iowa anymore. You just can't citadel it. That lowered citadel means you can't possibly citadel the Iowa. You can still citadel the Iowa. Interesting. I'm sure that was just a complete and total mistake, and no Iowa has ever been citadeled besides that. Okay, I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but yes, this idea that a lowered citadel makes you completely invulnerable to fire is just wrong. It means that you can't get citadeled by every destroyer and cruiser that happens to get your broadside at anything less than 10 kilometers. But battleships can still find your citadel if they get the right shot at the right range. So that can totally happen. Now, as far as this battle goes, I happen to love the map Shatter. I think that this is the type of map that we need way more of, and we need way less of Tears of the Desert. Now, I think pretty much like every other tier, every high tier map, this one could do much better by having the 1 and 10 and the A and J lines just completely removed from the map, but that's neither here nor there. And the reason is you've got cover. If you really want to go out in the open and fire those long distance and completely ineffective salvos, you can wander over there to the east side of the map around the east side of sea and shell the water to your heart's content. But if you want to get in close, the A and B caps have lots of cover, and you can really maneuver your ship and get in close. Now, I started to push over here on the A side because this is my preferred side, but it never really developed over here. We lost one of our ships, the Miyoko, and we also lost our destroyer over here. And so that sucked because we've got the enemy Iowa, we've got another Miyoko, which is a Southern Dragon Miyoko, and at least one destroyer over here, plus the Chapayev hiding out over behind that island. And as much as I like to be aggressive, I've really been trying to temper my aggression, especially in a ship like the Iowa, to not just go charging in and get myself destroyed for no real benefit. I'm trying to see what's going on, because I don't know where anybody is, I don't know where I need to be facing, I don't know what's going on, and so I'm really just trying to get some information. And here is that Southern Dragon Miyoko. Love that paint job. I really do love it. It's so historically inaccurate, but I still love it. There's the Chapayev. Russian cruisers. Always the priority target. So, get some good shots on him, but now the Moss has peaked itself out here. And again, this match is not developing very quickly, but it will get far more interesting as we go on. So taking some preemptive shots at that Moss. The Iowa's secondary batteries are so unbelievably useless. I think I might have gotten a handful of close quarter expert badges with it, whereas I seem to crank them out with my Bismarck every other game. So if you're really dedicated as an American captain, if you're running a secondary build, it's not because of the secondary guns against surface targets. It's purely for anti-aircraft. And I misread this torpedo volley. Yeah, I totally misread this. If I'd kept to the port, I would have been able to miss this entirely, but I misread the direction, and as a consequence, I'm going to eat some torpedoes. But in exchange, this Miyoko gets to eat 16 inches of freedom, so there you go. Now, one of the things that I've learned from playing Hearthstone is that oftentimes when you lose the game is not actually when you lost the game. You know, when your opponent actually finishes the game, actually puts you down, usually things have been happening before that. They got you into position where they could actually win, and they actually won turns previously. I've been playing Hearthstone games where, looking back and following the logical chain back, the guy beat me 5 turns before lethal, and this is what we're about to see. Now, that Iowa got rid of our Miyoko, but our Miyoko had turned and fired off his torpedoes. And this Iowa, well, rudders are for suckers, because he just eats everything, all of these torpedoes. And just like that, this Iowa is gone, and that Chapayev has run completely out of friends. And that Iowa would, if I had to go after that Iowa, I'm confident I would have won, because, well, brawling is kind of what I do. I love to brawl with a battleship, and I very rarely lose a brawl. So I'm confident that I would have taken out that enemy Iowa, but it would have taken me time, and it would have cost me HP to do it. And if I had to take my time, and I had to trade my HP away to make it happen, the enemy team might have won this game. And so that Iowa's lack of belief in the power of the rudder probably cost his team the game right here at the 10-minute mark, Well, actually, that would have been about the 11-minute mark. So, anyways. Now, so here's a little bit of a advanced battleship tactics. I know those cruisers are trying to run up the slot towards B. So, I'm trying to get a shot at them. There we go. There's the Neptune. There's a Neptune and a New Orleans. So I aim at the water about the right distance away from him while I'm locked on so that the dispersion is tight, and boom! Triple Citadel, devastating strike, and a Neptune just deleted from the game. That'll never fail to be funny. Geez, British cruisers. I love them. Absolutely love them. Unless I'm driving them. Then I hate them. So that New Orleans is now very nervous as his big Tier 9 buddy just went bye-bye. And I get in a good shot on him. We make this cap, defend the other cap. And now we're pushing through A and into B. Now, B is normally a terrifying place to be in a battleship on Shatter, because there is just so much cover for enemy destroyers that they can sneak up and put torpedoes into your broadside. But in the mid to late game, you can do it. Now, right now, we're actually down. We've got 2 battleships. The enemy has 3. We don't have a cruiser. They still have 1, but we have 2 destroyers and they have 1. Right now, in terms of raw HP, in terms of raw damage output, they've got us beat. But we're going to turn that around pretty quickly, and that's thanks in big part to my destroyers, who really show why this area of Shatter is so dangerous. Oh, that Monarch did not even realize what he was getting into. Our destroyers, I fired off some shots, but it was never going to happen because, once again, we see a torpedo spread that just annihilated the guy. Now, the King George is over here on the port side going on this side of the island, and the Izumo is over on the starboard side, which provides me with, well, worst case scenario for the Iowa. I can't really turn into anybody without exposing my broadside to the other. So for the moment, I'm not doing it on either way. I'm still staying relatively angled on both of them so that I can engage them. Well, I'm engaging the Izumo, but if something happens, I can quickly switch to the King George. Salvo British HP, or British HE that didn't set me on fire. How refreshing. So here's this Algeria, and okay, you know what? There's an Algeria. It's in Algeria. So the Algeria is trying to get his torpedoes away. I'm fairly certain he is. He gets set on fire and puts it out. Horrible when that happens, but he doesn't last very long. Not with 30 HP. And I'm set on fire. And I go ahead and put it out because that destroyer is hiding over there in that smoke screen, and there's no way his torpedoes are going to be able to get to me, so I can put the fire out. Although, in all honesty, I should have waited. Well, actually, no. The cooldown on it saved me. So now I'm going to try to push around this side of the island and go after that Izumo. But the Izumo is starting to tuck himself in behind the island, and my spotter plane is going to get shot down here in pretty short order. You can't really survive against Battleship AA when you're just a single ship, when you're just a single airplane. But I am expecting that lone destroyer, since I'm detected, is probably going to try to run through that slot. Yep, there he was picked up for just a moment before my airplane got shot down. And he was pointed this direction. So I'm expecting that what he's going to do is try to come roaring through that gap between the islands and torpedo me. Oh, there I go. I got rid of the Izumo spotter plane, and now I have chopped my throttle down to nothing because I do not want to get overextended. That Izumo is over there, presumably turning around. I expect that he's going to try to turn around and come after me as his little destroyer buddy is going to come rolling around. Now, here I kind of mess up because I don't have my guns pointed directly at the gap. I have them pointed low and away, and right now I'm asking my team if we can find that DD and kill it. And, jeez, every time I watch this just is awful, because I could have killed him right there. But he gets to survive for a moment longer, except, boom, there he goes. Now, he fired his torpedoes preemptively, expecting that I would be moving in a decent clip, but I wasn't, and so the torpedoes completely missed me. Oh, by the way, that was my 4th kill. And this is the moment that I realize it. I have an Azumo, he's relatively close, and I can brawl him. And a ship like the Azumo, and also the Nelson that just recently got added. Oh, King George is down, which means this Azumo is now it. These guys are really who you want to brawl because they can't swing their guns around to protect their rears. So if you can angle your ship right and sneak in behind them, you've got a big advantage in a brawl. But this is my last game in the Iowa. This is the last game I'm going to be in it, and as such, I need to go out in style. And there's only one way to go out in style in this game. So at this point, he's got to know what's happening. I've got 4 kills. I want a Kraken. I want the ram. Last shots. I know it's not going to do the job, but he is we're both too committed to get away, and boom. There we go. Kraken unleashed. Goodbye, Iowa. So let's take a look at how that game turned out. 155,000 damage. Decent. With 2 devastating strikes and a Kraken unleashed. As you can tell by those other little collection of medals, I did this back during the anniversary event because, yeah, this has been sitting on my hard drive for a little while. What can I say? I've been busy at work and I haven't been able to get this kind of stuff done. So, top of my team with almost 2,300 experience, which is pretty solid. And for the list of damaged and destroyed ships, that is Zuma with the Ram, the Neptune with the Snipe between the islands, the Chapayev, who got way too lonely for his own good, the Southern Dragon, the Fletcher, and the damage just kind of kept on going for everybody else. Got a good spreading around the love on that match. And finally, turned a pretty good profit too. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to the Iowa, and I'll catch you guys next time.